It is time for the Nebraska Dairy Update. I'm Chad Moyer. Today it's the first of a two-part series with the CEO of Midwest Dairy, Molly Pelzer. Molly, thanks for joining us here today. Today we are going to review 2022. Kind of take me through the year. What were some of the highlights for the dairy checkoff in the 10-state region here this year?
We had a great year in 2022, and I believe one of the big decisions we made that made it successful is that we decided to focus on reaching that Gen Z audience. Those are those Americans that were born between 1997 and 2012, so they're now 10 to 24 years old, and we're also looking at their parents, and we want to share dairy's sustainability story and dairy's nutrition story with those groups.
Yeah, tell me a little bit about what is it, how have you gone about doing that? How have you connected with that target audience and their parents for that matter, and what are the successes of doing that?
Well, we definitely want to connect where people are. So we want to bring the dairy conversation into surprising places and meet them with dairy's nutrition story, keep that top of mind. We know that Americans love dairy. We just need to remind them every once in a while. And we also need to tell them about dairy's sustainability story, that we're producing the milk, cheese, and yogurt that they love with care for the planet. So some of the things that we've done in particular is to do some trust building activities with youth. The Men's College World Series that happens in your neck of the woods in the baseball championships really helped us connect with consumers from our region as well as consumers nationwide as they descended on Omaha's baseball village. And it was a great opportunity to talk to the athletes, the parents, really everyone on how dairy can help you up your game a little bit, whether your game is baseball or your game is life.
Yep. And I guess, are we starting to move the needle on that? You know, what are the indications that this work has been successful on behalf of dairy farmers?
We do a study that we call a consumer sentiment study, and we are finding that trust in dairy is being maintained or slightly increased with one exception, and that's this young Gen Z population. I think part of it is when you're those ages, 10 to 24, you tend to be a little bit more skeptical about everything in life, and we are positioning ourselves to make sure that we answer any questions they have, clear up misinformation, and again, bump into them where they are. Certainly with athletes, that's a great way to pique their interest. But we also talk about Earth Day activities and show up with our dairy farmers sharing what they do on the farm every day and their commitment.
Molly, I know the dairy checkoff, you know, most checkoffs, right, have three major purposes: the research, promotion, and education. Is there any research that Midwest Dairy is kind of putting its stamp on or helping move along?
The Midwest Dairy Foods Research Center is our collaboration with the land-grant universities in our 10-state region. And we emphasize a few things there. Probably top of mind is food safety. You know, we are always very cognizant of the fact that we want to share that dairy is made safely and is a nutritious product. So our processors that we work with at the Midwest Dairy Foods Research Center are keen on that. We're also looking at solving consumer challenges, whether that's with exporting. How do we get the products that are made in our 10-state region across the world? And we're also excited about research in the nutrition and marketplace area. We take the nutrition research to our partners in the healthcare area, as well as parents. And we take the consumer and market research to food service and retailers so that they understand the value of focusing on dairy in their promotions.
Molly, we've had some conversations with some folks from Midwest Dairy about product development and things like that. And, you know, kind of got to wonder has everything been made from dairy that is going to be made? And the answer to that is probably no. You look for continued ways to include dairy products in different foodstuffs, right?
You are so right, Chad. Innovation in both packaging and product is important to Midwest Dairy. And we're working with processors and cooperatives, along with those land-grant colleges, to seek new opportunities for dairy innovation. We have grants available for those processors and universities, and we're excited about the opportunities to continually develop new, appealing dairy products for consumers.
Thank you very much. Again, we're visiting with Molly Pelzer. She is the CEO of Midwest Dairy. Coming up next week, we'll review a new slogan that the Dairy Checkoff is starting to use and also preview 2023 as well. That's coming up next week. And for now, that is today's Nebraska Dairy Update. Chad Moyer reporting. It is time for the Nebraska Dairy Update. I'm Chad Moyer. Today we continue our conversation with the CEO of Midwest Dairy, Molly Pelzer. Molly, let's talk about this slogan. I happened to see it at the bottom of an email here a while ago. It says, Midwest Dairy, making every drop count. That's a phrase that I hadn't seen before. Is that something that you're trying to promote with dairymen and consumers?
It is definitely a new nationwide farmer-focused effort to build awareness of checkoff among the nation's nearly 30,000 dairy farm families. Dairy farmers can see the Make Every Drop Count logo in print media and in digital trade if they're looking at blogs or podcasts or other posts. We want to get the information out about their checkoff investment, where they are getting their dairy information already, so that farmers can recognize and understand how the checkoff organizations that serve them regionally, nationally, and internationally are making use of their investment.
Yeah. Maybe can you expand on that a little bit more? I guess, what does that phrase mean to you, Molly, making every drop count? What does that mean to the Dairy Checkoff's efforts?
Well, the Dairy Checkoff wants to be sure that dairy farmers understand their checkoff investment. We'll share some hard-hitting facts with that logo and results. Results are really important to our dairy farmers. They tell us that they want us to track our progress, and they also want to connect about the why behind our collective work. Why are we focusing on Gen Z, for example, as we talked about earlier?
Molly, can you talk a little bit about Midwest Dairy's relationship with some national organizations? The National Dairy Checkoff and some of the international work that's being done. How are some of these things in the local 10-state region that you talked about? How does that connect to what's going on nationwide and worldwide?
Well, we know that in order to be most effective and most efficient with a checkoff investment, we need to collaborate not only with DMI and do nationwide programming through our marketing plan, but also other states and regions, and then globally through USDEC. USDEC, or the United States Dairy Export Council, is a program that was established by Dairy Checkoff. And working together, we can use our market research, our consumer research, our nutrition research to advance dairy sales and demand for dairy across the globe. I think one example that we did in 2022 that I was excited to learn more about was the e-commerce work. We know that since the pandemic, more consumers are purchasing their dairy retail-wise on e-commerce. And we did a pilot with DMI and the Dairy Alliance. The Dairy Alliance is the state and region that serves the southeast portion of the United States. And we learned a lot about how consumers navigate the online grocery store. And we're excited in 2023 to share those results, not only with other retailers, but definitely with our dairy processors and co-ops so that they can be relevant in that online area.
Yeah. You brought up an interesting thing in my mind's bubble. I'm looking as you walk through a grocery store, right? You've done a lot of work with placement and making sure that the cooler is right and, that it surrounds itself good. You can't do that online. You don't walk aisles in an online grocery store, do you, Molly?
That's exactly right, Chad. And we need to have them bump into the dairy case as they shop online, whether that's through banner ads. And the next time you shop online for groceries, you'll see these banner ads that pop up on the top of your screen. And we can nudge consumers back into the dairy aisle with banner ads, and then also with aligned product promotion. So if you're buying spaghetti sauce and spaghetti noodles, don't forget the cheese with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Great idea. All right. What's the future look like in 2023 for the Dairy Checkoff, Molly?
We are excited to maintain the work that we have done the last 2 years in our strategic plan, and we're excited about really focusing in that impact and replicating things, bringing them to scale for projects that were successful. We're going to continue that emphasis on increasing dairy sales, growing trust in dairy, advancing our research, creating checkoff advocates, and developing farm and community leaders for dairy. Each of these areas adds value to a dairy farmer's checkoff investment.
Again, that's the CEO of Midwest Dairy Association, Molly Pelzer, recapping this year and then a look ahead to next year in the efforts of the dairy checkoff. That is today's Nebraska Dairy Update. Chad Moyer reporting.